Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
Escaping for a time. An immense wolf's howl ripped through the local forest as engineer Mark King wrapped his hands round his lukewarm mug of strong black coffee. He smiled to himself. At least the white wolf hadn't noticed his escape for a few hours this time. He leant back in the red leather booth he was sitting in, and just enjoyed the wonderfully refreshing, fake 1950s style of the diner. The hard, cheap plastic tables were nice enough, with a few coffee, tea, and wine stains that covered them. The dirty white tile flooring was a strange mixture of clean and dirty. Half of the tiles were freshly polished, and even the grout between them was sterile white. Then it was like the cleaner had simply given up on the other half. They were sticky, covered in oil, and they were caked in dirt. Mark was just glad he wasn't sitting over there. The cute owner of the diner, Madge, was a sweet middle-aged woman who always wore a white and red waitress uniform 4 sizes too small for her. And Mark still woke up in a night sweat about seeing her massive ass when she had sadly bent over once. He was sure he was never going to get over that horror show, but she was lovely enough, so he didn't really mind too much. The entire diner smelt great with freshly fried chips covered in crunchy sea salt, vinegar, and the juiciest cheeseburgers he had ever had the pleasure of smelling. Madge could seriously cook, and that's why he kept escaping Hell's Place, and he loved it. Hell's Place might have been a nightmare incarnate, but he enjoyed the challenge. It was a strange former council estate where people died, disappeared, and other weird and twisted things happened every day without a second thought. It was meant to be impossible to escape from, but Mark had played the game of Hell's Place so well, so often, and he figured out most of the rules that he managed to escape often. Yet the white wolf could always find him in the end, and he would go. No method of escape would work twice, and he really didn't want to get caught, because that meant he would never be able to see his precious adult daughter ever again. His cute daughter Alicia was sitting in the booth opposite him, devouring a bacon cheeseburger like she hadn't eaten all day. Knowing her and her insanely long shifts at the local hospital, it was possible. She was always working, always wanting to help others, and always pushing herself to the limit. It was one of the things he admired about her. "So what do you think, Dad?" Alicia asked. Mark had almost forgotten that she wanted him to meet her boyfriend at the weekend. Alicia wanted to bring them to the diner. They could have a nice meal together, and her mom might show up. He was more than grateful. Annalise had managed to escape Hell's Place when she was pregnant. At least the love of his life and Alicia were safe, and his daughter could have a normal, happy life without any murder, heartbreak, and strangeness. Mark laughed to himself. Well, any more strangeness than only being able to see your dad when he could escape from his housing estate. "I don't know how many more times I can escape," Mark said. Alicia grinned, leant across the table, and held her dad's hand. Mark really liked her warm touch and her smile. It was so precious. "You're my dad. You're clever, great, and you're amazing. You'll figure it out," she said. Mark had no idea how to respond. It was getting harder and harder to escape, run through the forest and escape the white wolf. It wasn't like he was getting any younger, and his knees were starting to play up. A dull ache radiated from his knees, shoulder, and back. He had been an engineer for 30 years, and his first few jobs hadn't given him proper protective equipment. He knelt on the hard concrete for hours a day, every day for a week and months at a time as he fixed things. His body was now paying the price. All whilst his bosses got richer in their nice, comfortable offices. His hands formed fists. It was so unfair that his former bosses could spend time with their families, enjoy their lives, and do whatever they wanted, all whilst he had to suffer at the hands of Hell's Place. "Is there any way you could pay or sacrifice for your freedom?" Alicia asked. Mark took a sip of the deliciously strong, bitter coffee. He shouldn't have told her about all the rules, the games, and the sacrifices that Hell's Place ran off. He didn't doubt she would happily sacrifice herself, so he could gain his freedom. Hell's Place would probably love that, but he couldn't live with himself if he killed his only daughter. He couldn't, and he wouldn't do it. No matter the consequences. Another wolf's howl ripped through the forest. Mark looked out the massive window. He saw the trees were a lot clearer now. The large pine, oak, and willow trees blew in the cold breeze, the moon was full and bright, and there was a wolf-like figure stalking round outside. "I don't have much time left," Mark said. "You look beautiful, as ever. I'm glad you've met Peter, and I really want you both to live a long and happy life, far away from Hell's Place." The lights dimmed inside the diner. Madge cursed under her breath, and Alicia frowned. "But I love you, Dad. I want you to be free, and I want you to live with me and Peter and Mum." The diner's door opened, Mark's mouth dropped, and he saw a young man with blood-red glowing eyes, a black suit, and long brown curls walk in. Mark shivered. The white wolf was at the young man's feet. Mark flat out couldn't believe that Edward Hales was actually here. He was the twisted lord from the 1800s who made a demonic pact for eternal life, and he owned the land that Hell's Place was built on. He was the mastermind of all the death, all the agony, and all the disappearances on the estate. Edward Hales sat next to Alicia. She backed up to the other edge of the booth, and the white wolf went over to her. Maybe the wolf wanted a stroke or pet or belly rubs. "My wolf will not hurt you, I promise." Edward sighed like coming to a diner in the middle of the night was perfectly normal. Mark nodded permission for his daughter to stroke the white wolf. "It's a beautiful night, isn't it? A perfect night for an escape, a lovely family meetup, and even better, a chance for freedom." Mark shook his head at Alicia when she sat up perfectly straight, grinned, and almost bounced up and down in excitement. Edward grinned. Mark knew never to trust an offer that sounded too good to be true. He didn't want to play any games, make any twisted deals, or kill anyone just so Edward would grant him his freedom. No matter how much he wanted to see his daughter and the love of his life more. "I have a lot of respect for you, Mark," Edward sighed, eating the remains of Alicia's cheeseburger. "It is rare that someone can escape at all, much less 20 times, and never have me catch them." "Why not kill me the first time?" Mark asked. "I know your white wolf kills a lot of other people." Alicia stroked the wolf even more. "Good girl. Thanks for not killing my daddy. You're amazing." Edward laughed. "She likes you, and she likes you, Mark, even more. She enjoys the challenge, the smell, and the games you play." Mark smiled to himself. He was so glad he could afford premium steaks every time he wanted to escape, and the poor white wolf couldn't resist the brilliant meat. "I want to make you a fair offer," Edward sighed. "I will allow you to return to Hell's Place a final time, collect your things, and then you are free to leave forever. You will never return, and I will never hurt you or anyone you care about." Mark nodded slowly. That sounded like a great deal, but there was always a catch with Edward. "But I want a sample of your daughter's blood," he said like it was nothing more than asking him to buy milk when he was out. "Never," Mark said. He wasn't too sure why Twisted Edward wanted it, but he was sure it wasn't for anything good. Blood was powerful, blood contained DNA, and 50% of the DNA was his. There wasn't a doubt in his mind that Edward could and would use his DNA against him. "What do you want the blood for?" Alicia asked, still stroking the white wolf. Mark looked at the wolf. There was an evil glint in its eyes, and he really wanted it away from his daughter. Edward giggled. "I want to clone your father. I want a plaything. I want someone to torture, to punish and enslave." "I love how normally you say everything," Mark said. "I'll agree to your terms as long as you vow never to hurt me, my family, or anyone else I care about. You will never come after us, make moves against us, or interfere with our lives in any way." Edward stood up, his blood-red eyes glowed intensely, and then he giggled. I love being pushed into a corner. You know all my tricks, you know how to stop me, and you know how to stop loopholes. I respect the hell out of you, Edward sighed. Mark was expecting some dramatic line about how Edward hated being backed into a corner. He would take back his offer and kill him and his daughter, but Edward only smiled. I agree to your terms, Mark, Edward sighed. The white wolf chomped on his daughter's hand. She screamed in agony, and then Edward and the white wolf disappeared. Mark rushed over to his daughter. He held her hand in his, and the wound was already healed. Are you free, Dad? Alicia asked. Mark smiled as he felt light, happy, and free. He was no longer tied to Hell's Place, and he was free to do whatever he wanted with his daughter, his family, and the beautiful woman he loved. Yeah, honey, he said. I'm free. Alicia shot up, grabbed her dad's hands, and smiled like a little schoolgirl. Then let's go home, Dad. Mom really wants to see you. And I really want to see her, honey, Mark said, grinning like a teenage boy. And as him and Alicia left the diner, Madge smiled to herself and Edward appeared again. He flashed his fangs at her and she screamed. Sorry, Madge, Edward sighed, grinning. I always need my victim.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.